Jesus says this, "Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep." As we transition out of chapter 9 and into chapter 10, we're still in the same conversation that Jesus was having last week when he told the Pharisees that even though they could see, they are blind. He's still having that same conversation. Shepherds in Jesus' day, we don't really, even if you have sheep today, it's different, and most of us don't. But if you were a shepherd in Jesus' day, you'd take your sheep out grazing during the day, and then at night you'd bring them into a sheep pen. Sometimes sheep pens were small, and it would be an enclosed space with a fence or with walls. And if it was just you, you'd lay in front of the opening. And you'd lay in front of the opening so that nothing could get in there without waking you, or no one could get in there without waking you. But most of the time, they tried to pen their sheep in groups. So multiple shepherds would have their sheep in this one pen. And then there would be a gatekeeper that would stay awake and watch and make sure that the only people that went into the pen were the true shepherds. Jesus says, though, that there's a thief and a robber. He uses the singular, that has to climb over the fence or into the walls to get to the sheep because they can't go through the door because they're false. Jesus is speaking here specifically of an Old Testament passage that condemns the current Pharisees and religious leaders for serving themselves on his people. We find this in Ezekiel verses 2 through 4 of chapter 34. God says this, "Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say to them, this is what the Lord God says to the shepherds. Woe to the shepherds of Israel who have been feeding themselves. Shouldn't the shepherds feed the flock? You eat the fat, you wear the wool and butcher the fatted animals, but you do not tend the flock. You have not strengthened the weak, healed the sick, bandaged the injured, brought back the strays, or sought the lost. Instead, you have ruled over them with violence and cruelty." Jesus here is directly condemning those religious leaders, and they should have quickly and easily caught the reference because they're not caring for their people, but they're lording themselves over their people.